Well, good morning again, YouTubers. My name is Tommy Thompson. This is for the Moscow 2012, I keep getting my years, 2014 clinic. Ready to go to Russia. I got a little interesting thing here. Cute little pin. I had a marketing idea that was pretty good. What I was going to do is take I've got some hats here. I'll show you. Somebody asked me, I asked them what kind of present they wanted, and they said hat. And I said, well, what kind of hat? And they says one just says Tommy Thompson on it. So that's what I did. I had a hat made just Tommy Thompson, and then after that somebody said it'd be a good idea for these things for gifts. Well, you know, they're a little expensive for gifts, but what I decided to do is there's this little Russian phrase that "Я добрый, скромный и очень скромный человек." It means very good, very kind, very wise man. Молодец is a studly teenager, you know, so sometimes I tell him, "Я очень добрый молодец." It means I'm a very good teenager. Anyway, now what I decided to do, it just seemed a logical progression of things on these videos, is pre-teach this course. Okay, pre-teach this whole seminar. One thing is going to give me good ideas about what I want to cover and what I want to talk about, and it'll kind of serve as somewhat of an outline for the clinic when I get there. And I'm going to be doing 2 clinics back to back, so they'll both be the same thing. And then I'll probably have an advanced clinic later on in the trip, maybe about case supervision of the happiness rundown, or, you know, finer auditing skills, or probably be attesting a lot of people. You know, one thing about this rundown is kind of unique in all of Scientology is a person can go clear on this rundown. You know, there was one of the test cases that did, and this is from the LRH research notes. So, you know, it's deceptively simple. You think, oh well, yeah, just happiness rundown, It's deceptively simple. I mean, in one sense, is if you weren't doing anything against any dynamic, in other words, if all 8 dynamics were firing on all cylinders and you did nothing but optimum survival actions along 8 dynamics, you wouldn't be showing any case. You wouldn't be dramatizing nothing, because case is the only thing that's going to make you do something counter survival. So really, even though you had case, you wouldn't be dramatizing it as far as your happiness goes. You see what I mean? You still may, you know, have upset with your neighbor and your various things in life. Life's going to go on. That's the way life is. It's a game. It's a continuous problem. But the thing is, you're not overwhelmed by any of it, and it's not keeping you from being happy. For example, maybe the guy had his boss wanting him to work all the time, and that was upsetting on the second dynamic. You see, and then maybe the guy cognites that that was how he was trying to handle a second dynamic, by staying away. You see, and of course, whoa, and boom, boom, applies conditions, and now he don't really care about his job. He does care about a second dynamic, because that's what was keeping him happy. So, even though this course, LRH is very clear about it, this does not supplant grades. This doesn't, it's not designed to handle the grades case, and the grades case is necessary for clearing, you know, in a normal order of things. You know, you do grades and dynamics and you go clear. It's not that big a deal. This is not, by any means, no one should think of this as a special rundown that's going to make them clear. It'll clear them up about a lot of things, namely their survival along the dynamics. But, you know, I'm not going to say don't expect to go clear. I mean, you can't, it doesn't make no difference if you expect it or not. You know, if you get a cognition like that in the happiness rundown, well, more power to you. Because that's what you're really doing, is clearing up the guy along the dynamics. You're getting these workable data where you didn't have no data, or you had bad data, and he gets it all sort and all straight, and it all makes sense to him. You see, oh yeah, sure, I should do this and I should do that. No wonder I got into trouble, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll never do that again. And his life goes zing. But I'm just seeing a little bit more of the benefits of this happiness rundown, partially because when you see these benefits as an auditor, and you know that these kinds of things are possible, you know that this process, this rundown is very powerful. It could easily clear your PC, whether you wanted to or not, you see. And of course, you know, that would be an ultimate case, but for sure it's going to clear the guy up about the things in his life that he's hung up and stopped on. He's going to get really big wins. Now, the first lecture of this series, I am going to stress, well, you know, basically introduction to the thing, just like these tapes are, 3 or 4, whatever it is. Probably one, just what the whole thing is going to be about it all being on Skype, the sequence of the rundowns, where I'll be for the rest of the trip. And then when we start getting into it, obviously clearing words and commands, and clearing words that you're teaching somebody, what moral and morality is. And of course, if I've already made some lectures about how to straight wire the guy on his postulates and so forth. And then I talked a little bit about that an auditor needs to get pretty creative on this rundown. Not in altering commands or finding more than is there. The PC says that's it. You don't get extra points for digging after the PC you don't have anymore. But this rundown, if you understand the importance of the life-changing thing that it can do on your PC, it literally will change his life. It'll end the life that you see now, and you'll never see that guy again. And also stressing, and I'll stress this a lot, that it's pure standard procedure. Nothing added, nothing taken away. It takes a very high level to not do anything but the right thing. The LRH stresses this over and over through the rundown. They found that most of the mistakes were never in the happiness rundown themselves. They were in basic auditing errors. Like confessional specialist, you know, there's an overt step in there on the rundown. What'd you do to Uncle Bill, you see? And you get to pulling overts and withholds and going off into OW handling, and that's not what would happen, you know. So various auditors with whatever specialties, you know, some Dianetic auditor might want to run Ingrams that he sees sitting there because of something the PC said. Well, he overrun him on the happiness rundown and dropped him into an Ingram. So it was an auditing error. See, it wasn't the happiness rundown error. It was the auditor overran the dude and dropped him into an Ingram. Or they didn't run him at all. They just asked him, you know, you got anything about that? And the guy says no, and he says fine. They go to the next section, and then later on he's going to have problems. Or they skipped a step. The other bigger common error was they skipped 2 or 3 steps because PC looked good, or PC said he wasn't interested, or something like that, instead of doing the rundown as the rundown's written. But I want to stress that it's very high tech. Don't abandon, don't deviate from this very simple procedure, and you're guaranteed to get wonderful results. Now, what I'm saying about being creative as an auditor, you're going to be asking the PC about something he don't know about, which technically is an out of ARC question. You know, and the PC is going to be unconscious in that area. He's going to be out of ARC with that area, because that's what you're asking him for, is something that you're out of ARC with, something you didn't agree with, you know. See, something didn't add up, didn't make sense, couldn't think with it, you know. You got some kind of disagreement there with whatever it happens to be. But the point is that you're unconscious about this whole area. And where you can get creative in auditor, now let's say you see that you're asking the guy, I don't know, let's think of a being temperate, you know, not drinking to excess, you know. Anything about being temperate, you know, left there that you couldn't think with. And he goes, well, no, it sort of makes sense. Okay, so you didn't get VGIs there. You didn't get a read on the meter. It's not going to read. But you can tell by the PCD hesitating that he just don't get it really completely. He's got part of it, but you know there's got to be some more things, because he didn't go, oh wow, you know, that's the reason why blah 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 blah, and I'll quit doing that. And particularly if you've already went to one earlier similar, you know, say what happened blah 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 when I was 20, an earlier similar, yeah, I was a kid. Okay, the next earlier similar question, if it's not a trained PC and he's gone back track, might be a little bit tough for the PC. So you kind of got to watch what the PC's doing, you know. And if he's in the middle of something when he was a little kid, that's a pretty fruitful area. You're just trying to key the guy out. You're not trying to go earlier similar and run his whole case. You can query him for more things like that in that particular area. So you ask the PC, anything else about being temperate, couldn't think with? No. And so you just get this idea, maybe, that somebody told him that a glass of wine a day was good for your heart. You just guess. Out of the blue, you just guess. Did somebody ever tell you a glass of wine was good? No, nobody ever said that. Okay. Well, where are you from anyway? Italy? Okay, well, did anybody ever tell you that you should get spaghetti or something on that day? Oh, yeah, now that you remember, blah, 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 blah. The guy starts to find something else that he didn't agree with this being temperate. See, you had to drink wine every day. And that didn't make sense to him, really. Why every day? You know, what happened if you missed a day? So, you can get pretty creative on this PC when he's found a basic incident. Now, as you run a rundown, you run it quite a bit, you're going to find there's 4 or 5 things that come up a whole lot on this PC. He had a lot of ideas about a lot of things from the same people. So as you've kind of went over these things, you know about his incidents, kind of, because he already told you what he didn't think with, and it was Uncle Billy, and he didn't disagreed with, it was Uncle Billy, and something that he didn't quite get, you know, ran down to Uncle Billy, you see. So now you're running anything in conflict, and PC says, oh, I don't think so. But you don't think so. As an auditor, you don't think so, and you think, I bet there's some more Uncle Billy in there, you know. And so you say, well, what about Uncle Billy, or what about whenever your farm when you were 4, or anything there that was conflicted, you know, whatever your question was it conflicted? Was anything else conflicted? Was Uncle Billy conflicted about something? just kind of dig around. You use your own knowingness and kind of dig around. See, we're not going early or similar. We're not just robotically going early or similar. We think that in this area, most likely, as an auditor, there's something to do with Uncle Billy in there. And we can even ask the PC, you know, on this subject of conflicted data. Whenever you were at your uncle's ranch, did Uncle Billy ever say anything that gave you bad data? Conflicted data. You just ask him straight. And if you're pretty sharp and there's something there, you usually get a read on the meter there. See, because he's going to look over Uncle Billy and conflict. Well, conflict is a read, you see. Problem is going to get some kind of reading motion. And now you can use the meter and steer the guy down and figure out where Uncle Billy's doing. Now, let's say that you've gone down there and he does Uncle Billy, and boy, it feels a lot better, and he's kind of almost FNing, and maybe just FNing a little bit, and it stops and it starts again. And but you think, you know, there's something else there. The guy hasn't really got the thing yet. So, okay, well, you know, on this subject of conflicted data, you know, is there anything else there? You know, anything in that incident or around and those people? No, just how about conflicted data? How about in school? Did you ever see any conflicted data in school? Did they ever tell you 2 + 2 is 6 or something like that? Oh yeah. When I was living with Uncle Billy, I was in the 5th grade. See, there was always Uncle Billy was going to be in there somewhere too. You can almost bet on it, because that's the incident he's looking at, and you're just looking for the charge in the Uncle Billy incident that he hasn't seen yet. So yes, in the 5th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Pettigrew, she told me that the good students have haircuts. I couldn't make no sense of that. I was conflicting, you know. I couldn't see how, you know, because over here, it looks like the fun dudes had long hair. You know, they had long hair. They didn't get haircuts. And so I have conflicting data, you know, that good students can't have fun. It didn't make sense. And so blah, 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 blah. Well, where was she and what was she doing? And oh, blah, rah, rah. She was this and that. And I was there listening, and Billy Joe did this and blah, 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 blah. And then he may cognite right there. He'll have big cognition. Oh, wow. I decided that you could never trust a teacher, because that's what Uncle Billy said too. See? Oh man, never trust a teacher. And then he'll go, well, that's why I had so much trouble whenever I was in college too. I could never trust any of my damn professors, and most of them were wrong, blah, 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 blah. And you know, I do that today. I'm leery about which kids I send which schools, what teachers I send my kids to school, blah, 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 blah. He's got a big FN. You've dug him out of that particular thing without dropping him into something else that was an Ingram below it. Okay, and this is where you can get creative as an auditor. Of course, you can always just don't see the EP and ask him earlier similar. But you gotta be aware of the fact that if you ask him earlier similar, then you gotta find it. And if he's having memory troubles, you might have a little trouble finding it. But so this is just a way of being creative as an auditor to find the rest of the charge. You see, you're not, you know, that's all you're doing. You're just still using straight wire. Well, you know, how about this? Was that color green or blue, or do you remember any smells of something that didn't that was conflicted? You see, you not trying to get him to go earlier. You want more data from him. You want more data from him, more things in that area that he didn't add up. It's conflicted. Somebody said something different. It didn't make any sense to him. You see, you want more data in the same area. The chances are that if he's been going to Uncle Billy's house for 2 or 3 sessions, that Uncle Billy's going to have quite a bit of this kind of thing. So you can get a little creative as an auditor here. Now, I'm saying you can get a little creative as an auditor, giving people the benefit of the doubt. Because I think most auditors are going to just go, Uncle Billy, blah, 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 feel pretty good, no FN, starts and stops. Well, I don't think that's an EP. I think I'll go earlier. Okay, that's a mistake right there. Because he was getting a spotty FN. You see, the charge wasn't really released, or maybe it was released, but it's below the PC's awareness. He don't know his needle's floating. And you want a persistent FN. You see, the guy just disconnects from the whole thing, and he goes, "Oh my God, no wonder." Blah 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 blah. Temperance. That's where I picked it all up. I got it all from Uncle Billy and all from his buddies around him, and they were all drunk constantly all the time, and they had a lot of problems. Their wives were mad, and they didn't go to work, and they fought a lot, and some of them got killed. And boy, I took my ideas from that bunch of crazy guys. And so now all of a sudden, he doesn't just go out and drink, indiscriminately. If that's the button that you were on, he drinks to moderation. He used to drink, 10 vodkas. Now maybe he'll only drink 1 or 2 or something. You see, it's not so bad that it screws him up. He doesn't get robotic about the subject. He just don't drink to excess like Uncle Billy. That would be one thing. Well, maybe he don't even drink, but Uncle Billy gambled all the time, and he does gamble. You see. But basically, you're going to find this whole area of his life. It's going to be pretty early when he didn't have a lot of data, and it's 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, something like that. 13, 14, his early teenage years when he's starting to form opinions and data and things like that. You're going to find school has got a lot of bad data in it. Particularly if they're religious, you're going to find a lot of bad data in there, because it all has to be opinion. Maybe it's true, maybe it isn't, and that's the problem with the whole thing. It's, you don't know what's true and what isn't true. So you can get creative as an auditor, not as, changing the tech or doing something weird, but looking around in that PC when he's telling you about something and seeing that he didn't really quite get it all the way yet. I bet you there's some other charge there. Maybe there's somebody else, with this conflicted data. How about anybody in your family? Anybody in your family have some conflicted data about that time? Did you have any friends at that time, that had conflicted data? Did you ever hear about anybody at that time that had conflicted data? Oh yeah, they said that Uncle Joe was a war criminal. And I couldn't understand that, because he always was nice to me. Okay, there you go. See, now Uncle Joe, he forgot completely even had an Uncle Joe. And then there's Uncle Joe telling him some false data. Then he may go, oh, wow, God, even Uncle Joe, man, I didn't even spot him. He was the one that I didn't even see. And he really screwed me up. Wow, no wonder, blah, 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 blah. And then he tells you about present time. Well, I do that today, I blah, 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 blah. Now you got a full EP. You see, you got a big, nice floating needle. PC's cocknighting and blowing more mass and shit. And every time he looks at something, something else is blowing. You're going to have a persistent FN. The PC's going to have a big win. Well, that's it. You don't want to overrun some part of this happiness rundown. Guy's got a persistent FN. That's it. Let him out. If he comes back tomorrow, he's still got a persistent FN. Fine. You don't care. But usually you can audit every day on this thing, If the guy started getting too many blowouts where he couldn't have any sessions for like a week or something, you know, he probably just grab him by the leg and hold him there and finish off the rundown, because you're probably just a little bit of stuff, a little bit of charge left, you know, to really get the full roaring EP of the thing. So I'm not saying you get creative as an auditor in altering commands or altering procedure or anything else, but what I'm saying is that you're smarter than the PC in this particular area. You know, if it's familiar to you or if it's not familiar to you, it doesn't really make any difference, because you know you got a lot of bad data in there, and he doesn't seem to have got this big wow, oh well, yeah, that's why it all blah blah. Now there's a chance you do your creative thing and you says, well, you know, anybody else, any dogs, sisters, cats, brothers, mice, anything in there, nothing conflicted? No, no. Well, all right. Guess what? Is there an earlier similar time you got conflicted data about being temperate? Now you see, you exhausted that whole area. Nothing there, so nothing left but go earlier similar. You know, maybe you'll be lucky and the PC will have good whole track recall, and you go, oh yeah, remember we used to talk about the dark night that had kept me locked up in 14th century, and you go, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, well, he always said, you know, just before he threw you in the dungeon, blah 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 blah. Okay, well, you got lucky, you see, you got an earlier life. Well, it doesn't, okay, well, where was he at the time? Oh, he was standing at the top of the torture chamber, and where were you? And oh, I was down on the floor, tied up. And what was he doing? And oh, he was hollering, and that big long whip he kept cracking. And what were you doing? And oh, I was just whimpering and scared and trying to get away, and wished my wife would keep her mouth shut. See, all of a sudden he's coming up with something there that didn't make no damn sense. And turns out, dig, and the tortured dude was just torturing him because he wanted his wife. You see, kill him, get him out of the road, then he have his wife. But in the meantime, tortured dude said blah 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 blah, or his wife ran off with another man. You see, he's got something conflicting data there. Why would she run off with another man? She says she loves me, but she's gone. Conflicting data. And well, if that's it, when you ask the guy about it, he won't tell you about torture. He'll say, oh, you know, it was little Mary Sue while I was being tortured. You know, that was terrible. But you know what really hurt was little Mary Sue. You know, she promised she'd be there and she didn't, and then the torture caught me. And he'll come up with something. You use the air straight wire, and again, now you exhaust 14th century, you know, China or wherever the hell the guy's at, before you try to go earlier similar on this thing, if he's not got big VGIs. Okay, well, you know, along about there with little Mary Sue, was there any other conflicting data you had about being temperate? Oh yeah, you know, the sheriff of Nottingham, you know, he drank 2 pints of ale every day, and he was a big strong man, and he took care of me. And he said blah 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 blah. Okay, see, he gives you more data. Where was he? We're always on a horse. And where were you? I was on the ground. And you did, and then you can get creative again here. You don't have the FN. He's getting brighter. You see. You think, I think there's something else there in Sherwood Forest, and you ask him another question. Or you might think, I don't think there's anything else there. You can even ask him that. Well, is there anything else there in Sherwood Forest that you had any? And you know, you get a pretty clean needle and nothing's really reading, so all right, fine. And is there earlier similar? Because you feel that it's not that forest, it's an earlier forest. And oh yeah, well, you know, actually, you know, when I first came to Sherwood Forest, about 100 years before that, the Jolly Green Archer shot me in the leg, and I was really sick, and told me that You need to run fast, boy, if you're going to outrun an arrow. Blah, blah, blah. He tells you something else. And then, you know, Uncle, or whatever, the guy who got shot in the leg, turned out to drink all of the sake or whatever they had because of arrow in his leg, and he was a drunkard for the rest of his life. And that didn't make sense. See, here he was a war hero, and it's conflicted data. One hand, he's been told he's a war hero, and now he's got present time data that tells him he's a wino. So which one's right here? So again, I want to stress this again. This is not an invitation to depart from standard procedure. This is just a way of getting the PC to find false data. See, now the PC is going to have a lot of false data. Your problem is going to be that the PC says, nah, I don't have any. And you, sitting there, are kind of dumb enough that you don't think you have any either. You see? PC says he don't have any. You can't think of any. Where do you think this is going to go? It's going to go nowhere. But usually, you know, the auditor at least has been really word cleared real well on the subject of this rundown and what it is and everything, and got a little bit of tr4 skills, and he asked the PC, you know, on the subject of being temperate during the day you have conflicted. The PC goes, no, Well, you as an auditor go, well, you know, how about, did anybody ever tell you that it's better to drink beer because it's cheaper or anything like that? No. Well, did anybody tell you that, you know, a real man drinks a lot? Well, you know, there was the old fat mayor, and he was always drunk, and that's what he used to say all the time. He says, you know, never save a job for a sober man when you got a drunk to do it. And I thought he was great, blah, blah, blah. And so then, from then on, I tried to be mayor. Oh my God, you know, I have this thing thinking that mayors are all drunks. No wonder I hate the current mayor. I used to think he was a drunk, but you know, he may not drink at all. I don't know. See, one mayor equals the other mayor. He's in present time. He's telling you blah, 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 and his needle will be floating. And let him finish. Don't be in such a hurry to shut him up. Throw him out. See, yeah, cool, you know, I see, you know, and tell me more about that cognition there, and how else do you think that might affect you? You know, tell me what's happening with you over there. tr4, you know, what's happening over there, PC? Spit out. You got some more cognitions or something for me? Just tell them that. You know, got some more cognitions, anything else that you figure out there? And the guy goes, no, that's it. I told you everything. And, well, fine. Needle's floating. And anything you care to say or ask? No, I said it all. Fine. End of session. That's all there is. But you're going to find that this video probably sounds kind of stupid. You're going to think that it's going to be really easy to find false data on the PC. And when you start questioning that PC, and that PC goes everywhere under the sun, it's like putting a hot beam of focused light on an ant. He's good fucking gonna go everywhere. And he's gonna be very confused. And he's gonna be running around not knowing whether he's looking at something or he's not looking at something, or he can't possibly admit the fact that he's got something wrong, because he would be, you know, you don't have enough right anyway. He may be just scared to tell you that he had conflicted data. They might have beat it into him that he never tells anybody about things that he disagrees with in school. You don't know what you got there. So if you're from a different cultural background, it's pretty easy just to prod the PC with a whole bunch of stuff that he would probably never even thought about, and you can get some action on the guy there. Well, did you ever have a conflicted data about goats walking on a ceiling? You know, just guess. But as an auditor, you got to think pretty fast on this rundown, because between one sentence and the next sentence, the PC can be two completely different places. He can be telling you about Uncle Billy and in the same breath wind up telling you about the factors and how particles and space was created, and as long as he understood that, there was no conflict. He was cause over the physical universe. Whoa, my God, you know, a long time ago as a Thetan, I was cause over the physical universe. And I'll be damned, you know, somebody come along and told me I wasn't. And he was over there in that quadrant, and he looked like, I don't know, he was just kind of a glowing dude, you know. And he told me that I wasn't really cause. And I couldn't figure what to do after that. You see, I was sworn I was cause, but then he said that I wasn't. Conflict. And of course I'm cause, blah, 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 blah. And boy, he comes out the present time end zooming, you know. He comes out as that 20 billion year old OT. You know, he just reorganizes the hell out of his life, because now he's no longer operating on conflicted data. Well, like I said in the earlier part of this, you know, there have been people known to go clear on it. So that's what this next part of this lecture series is going to be about, is giving people the license to dig around in the other guy's memories without violating the rundown standard procedure. In other words, really all this is going to be some pretty creative tr4 along the subject of false data. So otherwise, if you don't, and then you throw the new auditor in with the PC and he says, do you got any false data? And the PC says, no, I understand everything. That's it. It's over with. Stop. Boom, boom. No auditor, no PC. The auditor don't know what to do. He stops. He's got conflicting data. He thought it was magic or something. So anyway, if you train people good in this, you know, being able to dig around and find stuff and be interested in the PC, and it mechanically increases ARC. You keep asking the PC, well, you know, what was real there to you, what did you agree with, and what were you communicating, and what were you looking at, and it's going to bring more and more of this back. The point is that you just want to correct the false data. You don't want to run this guy's whole Ingram or his whole scene or anything else. You just want it to the point where he blows the datum of all pigs sleep in beds, and you go, oh, that don't make any sense at all. It never did make sense. In this particular case, drinking to excess, you know. Uncle Bill drank a lot and whipped me every day, so now I drink a lot. Yeah, how stupid could I get? So that's worth one good solid class and a lot of drilling and trying to get the other guy to give examples and things like this. And it's also going to kind of loosen up everybody's case on the subject when they start drilling each other, do this tr4 or any other things that they might not add it up or something. You see, couldn't think what, just in general terms of tr4 drilling, kind of bull baited, you know. And with a lot of emphasis on not, you know, altering auditing commands, not being interesting, not putting comm cycle additives in as an auditor on this PC, making one of these errors that are just basic auditing errors, and still juggle being tr4 and getting the PC to find some things that he don't even know about, and it's possible that you might be kind of blind on too. Of course, if this rundown has already been run on the auditor and he's got all flat, he thinks lots of things wrong with that PC. and so it's pretty easy to find those things. So anyway, I think that's worth a good class. It's just stressing this tr4. This will probably be I could probably get this through to people in a half a day, maybe a day, probably a day when you stop to think about the drills and stuff, and then going back and answering questions about things that it might have on tr4 with the PC when that PC gives them something they don't really understand and things like this. So anyway, that's it for this tape. This will just be, I guess this would be lecture 2, which is a tr4 without violating and auditing comm cycle.